Hey guys, this is Ethan Pringle, and
Spenser Tang-Smith of the RV Project.
we are narrating my send footage of Jumbo Love for y'all, and sort of giving you like the inside scoop about what it felt like to be there that day, and what all the intricacies of the route are about, and a little bit of backstory, and
try to add a little bit of flavor to it.
This is May 17th, 2015, my probably 15th day trying Jumbo Love of that season. And this is me climbing the bottom of the first pitch, you could say, the bottom of the first section of Jumbo Love.
Cool. What is the first section?
Getting to the very top, you end up passing 3 sets of anchors. So technically you could say that Jumbo Love can be broken up into about 4 pitches. I guess for me it's easier to think of it as 3 pitches. The first pitch, the one that I'm climbing here, is 12D. It's really just like a really, really awesome juggy 511 with like a V7 boulder problem near the top of it to gain this this juggy ledge that you then traverse to get to the anchors of the 12D. So this part that I'm on here, where I kind of like take a quick seat in this cave, is like pretty not too hard climbing, 510 plus 511 on these really amazing giant sharp limestone jugs. Yeah, you can kind of tell that I've done it several times before. And here you can see in the zoomed out clip just how big that part of the wall, how big and expansive that part of the wall feels.
Are there other routes on this part of the cliff here, or is this the only route that is at the 3rd tier?
So yeah, it's funny. A lot of people think that Jumbo Love is the only route at Clark Mountain. Jumbo Love is on the 3rd tier, and each tier has about 15 routes on it. 3rd tier actually might have like 20 routes. There are routes bolted just to the left and right of the 12D pitch on Jumbo Love. So here I'm entering the crux of the 12D section of Jumbo Love, and you get this left hand kind of slopey Gaston undercling thing. You move up right hand to this kind of tweaky undercling pocket that's pretty good, but your feet are kind of way below you, and then you have to do this kind of come in move and then this big bump up to this jug rail that you can't quite see.
What's with the really long quick draw that you clipped right before the crux?
Yeah, the reason for the long draws is to help mitigate rope drag, so the rope doesn't zigzag all over the cliff and runs smoothly in a straight line up the cliff. So here we are on the ledge for the probably 80th time or 85th time of my life. Yeah, you're just like looking at this massive roof right above your head, all these dozens of quick draws stretching up the wall above you, and just I mean, whenever you meet a non-climber, they're like, you're crazy, I'll never have the upper body strength to do that, and when you look up at the sea of like rock above you and the dozens of quick draws stretching up to the horizon, you're like, there's no way I'm going to climb this.
It looks, I can attest that it looks totally blank and impossible. It's not your typical like Thailand limestone with gigantic tufa blob features and, things that scream at you like, grapple with this. It just looks like a big blank white football field.
Right. And I mean, to the trained eye, you can sort of see a line of continuous vertically oriented pockets that kind of look like discontinuous cracks. I get to the ledge, and as you can see, my toes are hanging off the ledge. It's not actually that big of a ledge, and the wall bulges out slightly right behind where my knees are, so it's not like it's the most comfortable stance.
Are you nervous at all while you're standing there?
I was pretty much nervous every time I stood on the ledge. Right before I would start to traverse the ledge with my feet, I would, throw my hoodie down to the ground and throw my t-shirt down to the ground. You turn around and face the wall to start climbing again, and you have to unclip that long draw at the anchor of the first pitch of Jumbo Pumping Hate, because if you wouldn't unclip it, well, there'd be a terrible amount of rope drag in the rope once you did start climbing the overhang above.
Is that a little heady? Because all of a sudden
It is a little heady to unclip that draw, yeah, because you know that the last draw is a long draw that's, 10 feet below your feet. So you know that if you were to slip there, you'd take kind of an alarmingly scary fall. Fortunately, I never tested just how alarming or scary that fall would be. So then you clip this other huge draw that you kind of just like reach over and grab. And then, you can take one last little shake after doing that awkward, sort of scary traverse. And then, you're on your way into the business.
So what's this intro section like here? Your first moves pulling onto the steep part?
These first moves pulling onto the overhang are just really fun, big moves. A lot of twisting, and the holds are just these really cool, bullet-hard, sculpted limestone holds. They're all kind of slopey, and then you do a really big move to that first pocket, and you clip like the first draw that isn't 4 feet long basically on the route. And then all these moves are just sort of really big but not too difficult moves.
And what are the holds like here? It looks like some pretty decent pockets.
Yeah, these holds are all pretty locker pockets. The moves between them are pretty big, but the feet are fairly decent, and the holds are good. And then once you sort of switch hands in that vertical mail slot there, that's where the first crux section of the route begins.
How hard is it up until here?
Up until that vertical mail slot is probably about 13C if you're tall. This crux starts off with these really big moves that require a ton of tension between these sort of medium-sized but positive holds. And then, you do that really big drop knee move to that right-hand pinch, which is kind of a piece of shit. It's not very good. Cling to it, and you get your hips out from the wall just enough to kick your left foot out left into that other hold that's facing you, and you get this crazy wild drop knee out left to sort of lock your body into the wall and hold on to that pinch just long enough to reach your left hand up to that monostack. You hold the rip from the monostack, and then you do these really fun big moves between these sort of like crack like pockets with your feet kind of really low on these tiny little chips, and you do a couple more foot cuts, and then you gain the first and only rest. I'd gain the crack with my right hand. I'd grab that face hold up and left. I'd bump my right hand up to the top of the crack to sort of hand jam in it. And then I'd grab my left hand inside the crack sort of like as a gas stone on this jug that you can't really see. So, it's sort of like a hand jam / jug in the crack. But the jug is only there for one hand, so you're going to have to hand jam with one of your hands.
So a hand jam is fairly locker. You don't really need to apply too much pressure to hold on to a hand jam, right? Like, in other words, you're not getting any more pumped right here, are you?
No. I mean, it's a pretty decent rest, and it's kind of like, any move on a route, the more you do it, the more you'll figure out how to make use of it. So, but still, your feet are so high, you can tell that my feet are only 2.5 feet below my hand, so it's not like you're standing on your legs really. You're still just like hanging on your arms.
Are you pumped here at all? How do you feel right now while you're resting here?
I think I started to get that first boulder problem crux of the route so dialed that I could do it without really getting like pumped. My fingers would get a little bit tired, and I'd get a little bit of pump in my forearms, but not much. Once you've done a relatively hard sequence of moves 40, 50, 60 times or more, you can get them so dialed that you can do them with relatively little effort. That rest was more just to like depump a tiny bit, but more just to like recompose, catch my breath, and slow my heart rate a little bit, and just like prepare for the next section of climbing. When you leave the hand jam rest, the big moves continue. The moves don't really get any smaller, but it's pretty decent sized holds, and they're kind of these weird little specifically tweaky pockets and edges, and the moves are just really fun. The feet are pretty decently large for the most part, at least at first, getting to that first draw that I clip. The moves are really big, and then the holds start to get a bit worse. The body positions start to get a little bit less comfortable as you go up and enter the second crux of the route. This hold outright is like a jug, but there aren't two of them next to each other, and you just have to grab it and keep going. That hold is not very good. That pinch, that right hand pinch, is pretty good when you're below it, but then as soon as you start to stand up above it, it gets kind of shitty. You readjust it. I get this really high drop knee to make this move static so that I can slot my pinky in the bottom of that pocket and my index in a pocket just slightly higher. And then you grab that intermediate setup for the red point crux move, which is sticking that edge, and then you walk your feet through into this other big drop knee. That the feet kind of suck there. Oh, I broke a foot on my Sengo right there.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And you totally kept it together.
Yeah. I mean, I had the body position so dialed that it didn't really matter. And then, you get to this little mini rest right here, right after the red point crux. From that hand jam rest to that little mini rest is probably like... It's probably like a 14A route or something.
Wow.
Or maybe even 14B, because the moves are so huge. And then, you get to this little mini rest on these kind of like weird little blocky crimps. The right hand's really good. The left hand that you cross under to is not very good. And then you do this last little like, I don't know, V7 or V8 boulder problem with these really big moves on these kind of like weird, good but not very comfortable pockets. But I was just like trying to be as locked in as possible and like shaking out on them and stuff. And here's where I sort of like lost it the try before, but then when I knew, or the time before that I got up to this point, but then I knew this time that I like had more energy and kind of cruised it.
No kidding. You did not look like you were fatigued at all.
No.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so, and then I was just like, I got to that lip jug and I was just like psyched out of my dome. I kind of got there and I noticed like, I thought I would be more scared and freaked out when I arrived here, but actually I'm just psyched, like, and that's totally fine, I don't need to be scared and freaked out.
Fuck yeah, dude, you got this thing, man!
So what's this jug like?
This hold is like basically a jug, but it's not like a bucket. It's kind of flat. It's really good for your right hand, and for your left hand, it's kind of like this 3.5 finger stack on top of this flat block. So, and you can kind of like readjust your hands and use different grips to switch it up a little bit so that your hands don't get tired of holding like the same hold. But it's not the best place to recover because your feet are so high. So again, it's like the hand jam rest. You're mostly just hanging on your arms. But it is good. It is a good place to like catch your breath, depump a little bit, and recompose, slow your heart rate down. And then, I was always really nervous. Like, I told myself for the longest time before ever making it this high from the ground that I was for sure going to fall on the boulder problem right above the lip because it has the smallest holds that you've grabbed yet on the route, Mm-hmm. Up to that point, the wall is 45 degree overhanging, and the moves are really hard, but the holds are really big. Like, the holds are big in comparison to the boulder problem right above the lip. So I was always really scared that I would pitch up there right above the lip and just be so heartbroken. But I got to the jug that time, and I was like, I'm not really scared to fall up here. Like, I'm just really psyched to have made it this high, and I'm counting that as a huge victory. No matter what happens from this point on, I feel like fucking stoked.
So in other words, you had never made it from the ground through the entire overhang in one go before. This is the first time you've ever made it to the lip from the ground.
Yep. Yeah, this was the first time that I'd ever made it to that jug at the lip from the ground. This was my high point. Every move higher that I climbed from this point on was a new high point. So I was stoked about that. I knew that in the back of my mind that if I did fall, that I would be like pretty fucking bummed. But at the same time I was like, oh my god, like, I mean, I already knew that I was capable of climbing Jumbo Love at that point because I'd gotten so damn close to this jug from the ground, but like every point after that was like, oh my god, like I'm that much closer to accomplishing my dream. So yeah, it was just like pretty much nothing but excitement and joy. And but I was like, okay, you know, you've been here on other projects dozens of times. Oftentimes there's a hard section. Maybe it's not 80 feet, but oftentimes there's a hard section after the red point crux of your project that you need to like keep it together on. And so I was like, okay, you know what to do. Just like shake out, take your time. Don't leave this rest before you need to. You know, get as recovered as you can here. And I had done the link like from the start of the red point crux to the top of the wall so many times that I knew that time when I got to the jug, oh, I've gotten here more pumped and I've still made it to the top of the wall. You know, knowing that I for sure had the physical strength to get to the top this time gave me like a little bit of confidence boost. I wasn't thinking too much about celebrating yet. I was just sort of like psyched to know that I can do Jumbo Love, you know?
Yeah.
Mostly.
That's a pretty cool feeling, I'm sure.
Yeah. This boulder problem, it's like, it's just so much different than the rest of the climbing you've done on the route so far. Like, you're doing these big, kind of thuggy drop knee moves on relatively positive, good, secure holds. And then you have to do this kind of weird, big move, but kind of shitty hold face boulder problem with these kind of small, slopey crimps and really bad, smeary feet. These first few moves aren't so bad. Although the first few times I did them, I was like, oh my god, these are like really big and you can't really see the holds you're going to and stuff. So yeah, you kind of like leave that rest, you do a few big moves, your feet are above the lip. The first couple holds are pretty decent and you can kind of chalk up and stay composed. And then you have to do this really big reach kind of down and right to this like undercling crack jug that you can't quite get your fingers inside of. It's not a jug actually, it's just like a crack that you really want to be a jug but isn't. You walk your feet over, the footholds start to get really small and slopey, and then you have to do a couple really hard pulls on these really slopey small crimps. And that left-hand crimp out left is just terrible. But I had done this boulder problem at that point so many times that I just had it super dialed. I knew, you know, exactly what to do. Yeah. Fortunately.
all the way down to the detail of moving the quick draw out of the way of the next crimper.
Right. And exactly how to stand on the like shitty, dismal, slopey feet here. I think that felt like a huge victory to me to get to that little like fin hold there.
Like a boss,
yeah.
Dude. Fuck yeah,
and then just
man.
like hearing Tom yell was just like, yes, I'm up here now. Holy fuck. I can't believe I'm here.
Wow.
And it's just like, you know, all the climbing from the lip to the top of the wall feels just so insecure. Yeah, I could hear Georgie screaming and stuff. I was super psyched.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's like, you're like, well, all I have to do now is climb like an awkward vertical 13C with terrible small handholds and terrible slopey footholds. Maybe it's like Smith Rock's 13B. 13A, but it's like it's really insecure, but you know, you're like, well, I've done it so many goddamn times that I know I can do it. You know, I just have to like keep it together and take my time and stand really hard on the footholds and, you know, not break anything basically.
Yeah, but you'd been up there so many times that the chances are pretty good. I imagine that if anything was going to break, it would have already broken.
Right. Yeah, I had like tried to make sure to like, because I actually took a slightly different sequence than Chris did at one point. Another couple quick draws higher. Actually, yeah, after this next draw that you can see swinging in the breeze right there, I sort of like took this more left, like vertical path instead of up and right with these like terrible slopey undercling holds. And so I kind of like pioneered a new little section of climbing, but I made pretty damn sure to like, you know, clean the footholds and clean the handholds as well as I could to make sure that I wasn't going to like break anything and be surprised and fall off the wall.
Huh. It's interesting that
and then this part is like, you just have to really take your time here because the feet are slick and slopey. Oh yeah, there's my little like ego inflating no hands rest.
God, that looks that does not look like you're relaxing at all. You look terrified, like you're about to pitch off the mountain backwards.
Yeah, I think part of the reason that I even like took my hands off the wall there was because I did it so many times when linking this boulder problem. Well, not so many times, but I had done it a few times linking this boulder problem just like from the lip to the top of the wall. And so I knew I could, and I just like wanted to sort of prove to myself that I could let go from the wall there for a second. And it's always, I don't know, it's always kind of like you want to feel as comfortable as you can and like as relaxed as you can when you're like in a stressful red point situation. So sometimes like doing a little bit of like messing around here and there can like just like help you relax a little bit, I guess. I don't know.
Totally. Well, yeah. I mean, hey, you're standing on your feet for the first time in 120 feet of climbing or something. So
right.
That I guess that affords you a bit of leeway there.
Totally. And anytime I can like remove my hands from the wall completely is always like I don't have to be like entirely engaged here, or I can disengage a part of my body that I've been using steadily for 120 feet.
Now you're going through this section here. It just looks like you're, being super calculated and taking your time. But, are these holds like positive and once you grab them, they're good? Or are they slick and slopey and you got to really, pay attention to all points of contact? Or
yeah, you really do have to be like super focused here. It's the moves, it's just a totally different style of climbing than what you've done, but you have to just like, you have to just pay really close attention and take your time because a lot of the holds are really small and facing sideways. And
are you gunder clinging there?
I was kind of gastoning, and then you get this kind of like juggy side pull pinky lock thing, and then you have to like use a series of kind of shitty slopey intermediates to switch hands in that hold.
Oh God.
Yeah, and the boulder problem you just did to just get to that position is kind of hard too. It's probably like a V7.
Jeez.
But like a weird like buttermilk style V7 with weird like knobby, crimpy nubbins, and then you have this kind of slopey undercling thing with these shitty smears. It's just it's not really moves you want to be doing like at the top of your 150 feet up your like 515 minus sport project. You really wish these moves were like a lot more secure and casual, but I guess that's why I did it a couple dozen times. Make as sure as I could that I knew exactly how to do the moves and I could take my time on them and be super careful and calculated.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this pitch is actually like a really awesome, fun pitch of climbing. And it's just funny that, like that it even connects all the way through. Like there could just easily be like a 10 or 20 foot blank section on this headwall somewhere and you'd have to do some huge traverse or something, who knows.
Or it would just, like most sport climbs, just end at the
right.
end of the hard climbing. You lower from there.
Right, totally. But instead you have to do like, a 13C from the lip to the top after you do the 15B part.
God, that's fantastic. So is it, I guess the grade Jumbo Love gets 15B, would it get that if it ended at the lip, or is this tacking on the 13 plus, responsible for the B instead of A, I guess?
Right. Well, in regards to the discussion of grades, I think that since neither Chris nor I fell above the lip jug, that probably means that the headwall doesn't actually warrant another grade of difficulty on top of whatever it is up to that point. So I think that it still would get the same grade if it ended at the lip.
Okay.
But, only two of us have done it. Anytime the first ascensionist does something, it's just like a proposed grade. So, maybe Andra will come and like crush this thing and downrate it to 15A. Who knows? I'm certainly, hopefully saving him some effort of like figuring out, here's another no hands rest right here in this little awkward scoop.
Jeez. Yeah, you kind of look like you're trying to hold on with your beard hair.
Yeah, it's It's not the most comfortable no hands, but I guess I just love no awkward no hands rests.
Well, I mean, it's also maybe worth mentioning that your feet have been in climbing shoes for like 40 minutes straight at this point or something.
Right. My toes are like probably completely numb at this point. Fortunately, I know like exactly how to kind of step on each foothold and stuff, and just like do the moves carefully and slowly enough to sort of like not get pumped, basically. And obviously I'm like, yeah, my feet are like already 15 feet above the last draw.
Yeah, geez.
The draws are really far apart up here, but it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun that way. I think this was the point where I was kind of like, oh my god, oh my fucking god. Like I have it in the bag. Like I really cannot blow it at this point. And the other interesting thing about when I sent it, as opposed to when I was just climbing the headwall section to get it dialed in, was that the last bolt on the headwall is actually like up in this like V5 section or V6 section of climbing that you don't really have to do. You can easily just bail out left and do like a chassis 5/8 slab or whatever to get to the top of the cliff. But when I was working on Jumbo Love, I wanted to lower from a safe position, and I didn't want to do that bailing out left sequence, so I would actually do that last little V5 or V6. But when I got up there from the ground, as you'll see in another couple volts, I wanted to take the easier way out because I was like really afraid I was going to blow it on the last little like tiny little headwall boulder problem. So I bailed out left, which was exactly what Chris did too when he did it. And I actually got to the top and I was like, did I actually send Jumbo Love? I'm not sure I can take credit for it. I didn't clip all the bolts.
Well, I mean, you also skipped literally half the draws in the overhang part. So
it's true. I guess I didn't clip all the draws to begin with. So, but yeah, someone needs to go back and do Jumbo Love direct finish, or maybe I need to go project it again for another 8 years just to like get back up there and do the little V6 at the very very top of the headwall. Really tie the route together.
Yeah. When you watch the footage of you doing, and especially like the overhang part, when you watch that footage, does that look like what you felt like? I mean, you make 15B look like 10B.
Right.
And that's rad.
I did have the climb like ruthlessly dialed. I will never have another climb that dialed again, pretty much. Maybe I had everything as karate that dialed, but it was like, a fifth of the moves or something, probably. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, I keep having this discussion with people about hard climbing and hard projecting and whatever. I think what you end up realizing is that you really don't give it 100% very often. What you do, especially with hard sport climbing projects, when there's like these long stretches of hard moves that you have to kind of nail one after the other, is you just get it so ruthlessly dialed that you only have to give it 80% or 90%. It's really rare that you're actually giving it 100%. I feel like I can recall a few times during my climbing career, whether it was in a competition or on some hard boulder problem somewhere or on like a hard on-site where you really don't want to let go, where you're actually giving it everything you have. But most of the time when you quote unquote fall, you're sort of just mentally giving up and doing some form of letting go. It's just so hard to give it 100%, because why is it hard to do that? Because we just don't know what we're capable of. Even at this late stage of my climbing career or whatever, late stage, like I'm still finding out what I'm truly capable of. And, the reason that you're sort of mentally giving up and physically letting go is because you think you know what you're capable of and you think you've met your match on any given attempt. And really you haven't. You hardly ever give it 100% physically and mentally because you're just still finding out what you can do. And, Jumbo Love wasn't 100% for me. I just had it so fucking ruthlessly dialed that I was able to do it giving 90% and just climbing it so goddamn efficiently. And wow, what a thought. Like, what if I had something that ruthlessly dialed and gave it 100%? Like, I wonder what I could accomplish.
Do you like people yelling support when you climb?
Absolutely. I absolutely like people yelling support. Like, the louder and more enthusiastic, the better.
Yeah, it was super tricky for us up there,
Right.
being behind the cameras, but also being your homie and wanting to like get you up the route. I mean, we all
Totally.
Wanted to support as well, but for the purposes of the sanctity of the footage or whatever, or
Right.
we're quiet, and it's like, man,
Right.
it feels weird. It feels really weird.
Right.
Like I'm like sitting there behind the camera, like silently fist pumping. And I'm like, that's not helping him out. So
Right.
Final boulder problem.
Right. So yeah, you leave this last little like side pull jug rest, and then you do this sort of strenuous traverse boulder problem with these sort of like positive handholds, but really, really crappy little footholds.
Your right foot right now looks like it's on nothing.
Right. Yeah, and the feet are kind of like high and awkward, and then you're done. And I actually I went back a year after climbing Jumbo Love back up to Clark Mountain with a couple friends from Vegas just to replace a couple of the bolts that I was taking really, really big whippers onto that were kind of like starting to maybe pull out of the wall a little bit with, stainless steel glue-ins. And I also put a bolt right up and to the right of where I am now, because there isn't one. Like, you can climb this whole headwall bit and do that last little boulder problem, and then there's just no bolt to clip, so you have to keep going up and right to that like final little boulder problem that Chris and I just like escaped from out left. But there is a bolt there now, so
Gotcha.
yeah.
So now people can do the Ethan and Chris variation safely.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, the Randy Levitt original vision is still...
Yeah, and you can tell that here I'm like a little bit less sure of what holds to grab, because this is like pretty much new terrain for me. I think I had climbed up here once I realized that I was super close ascending. I scrambled this part once, just to sort of like have a vague idea of where to go. But man, the rock right here is definitely not as good as it is on the rest of the route, and like the risk of breaking something and falling and not sending Jumbo Love because of the like 5-7 section at the very top of the wall is like very real. So I was like a little bit gripped and like okay.
Yeah,
I want to be celebrating already.
Okay, so
yeah, you can tell my toes are in a bit of pain because I'm like standing on my heels and stuff.
Yeah, you pretty much just look like you're trying to survive your way to the top here now. It's almost like, I mean, the way you look back just there kind of looks like alpine climbing.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, this is like
You're questing.
the alpine head wall. Just put a few icicles on there and it'll look totally normal.
Yeah, totally. Just got to chop through the rime here to get to the holds.
Yeah, you can see that draw like 20 feet out right of me there. And that's the draw that I would climb to like most of the time that I would do that I would like make links and practice the upper head wall. But like I said earlier, like I really did not want to blow it on the like V6 top out of Jumbo Love and just like do the easy part.
Yeah.
Like Chris did.
So at this point right here, you're essentially walking up a slab. It looks like there's a bit of rope drag.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yep.
But yeah, you must be like over the moon because like it's over. You're walking up.
Right. I'm at the no hands. I'm almost to the summit. Yeah. And yeah, we were hooting and hollering, and I was just like, oh my god, I just did the thing that I basically told myself for the past, half dozen years that I would never do. So that was like, yeah, that was big emotional release. That moment had sort of already come. Crying like a baby. What did she say?
You've got to be kidding me.
Oh man.
Oh, right.
Gets me every time.
Yep. Now we got to go back down.
Yeah, I basically just did the same thing that I did all the other times I climbed to the top of the head wall. You know, I had Georgie lower me back down to the lip of the cave, and then, you know, retied there. But then this time, you know, I unclipped the draw at the lip and climbed a few feet higher to the next draw, and then like let go and took like a, you know, 80-foot tall victory whip, which was super fun.
Yeah, dude!
I don't know.